announcing the Man of the Year by Nationwide. Some of our favorite NFL players ever have won the Walter Payton Man of the Year Award. J.J. Watt, Chris Long, Charles Tillman, our very own Kurt Warner at NFL Network. We will announce the 32 nominees, one per team, during our show. It's pretty...
They get the patch.
gravitas on GMFB today.
Huge responsibility.
You love that patch.
I think it's the coolest patch in the world. You win the Walter Payton Man, you get a patch for the rest of your career. You see J.J. Watt, you see Jason Witten. It's really cool.
Stay tuned for that. We'll sell us out in the newsroom in Culver City right now with more headlines you need to know.
Absolutely. What's going on there, Kay? And guys, happy Thursday to all of you. And the NFL is continuing its investigation into whether or not the Patriots' illegally videotaping of the Bengals sideline was an accident or something to gain a competitive advantage. Head coach Bill Belichick once again reiterating he had no knowledge of the organization's video crew filming the sideline. Now, the Patriots did admit that the crew, which is independent of the team's football organization, inappropriately filmed the field from the press box as part of a video series on an advanced scout. The Patriots also said there was no intention of using the footage for any other purpose. League officials spoke on the matter at the league meeting, including Roger Goodell, who says there's no timeline to complete the league's probe.
I only had an opportunity to spend some time with a couple of our staff. Obviously it's under review. We're going to be thorough. We're going to take our time and make sure we look at everything that's pertinent here, and then we'll make a decision. And obviously there won't be much time before we make a decision when you hear about it. So.
Again, I'm gathering facts. I'm not in the right position to make a comment on what's believable, what's not. As we get our security reports back, we'll evaluate it, and then we'll make a decision based off of the facts that we've gathered.
Do you have any sense for how long the process is likely to be?
We want to take our time, and we just want to make sure that all the facts are out there that we have, and then we believe that we'll come up with the right decision. So I don't want to put a timeline.
And whatever that decision is, we certainly will bring it to you. Meanwhile, Hall of Famer and broadcaster Troy Aikman likes giving our show shout-outs, and for that we say thank you and keep the mentions coming, Troy. That being said, Aikman may want to follow the path others have taken, going from the TV booth to the front office. Aikman spoke about his aspirations to be a general manager someday and whether or not that opportunity could come with the Cowboys.
I believe that it's unlikely that Jerry will ever bring somebody in that can help this football team in that regard, just because he's been real stubborn and steadfast and that he's the one in charge. And I think in a lot of ways, until that changes, this team's going to have some problems. Would he ever ask me to come be a part of it? I think that'd be a real leap of faith. I don't envision that happening, and I don't envision it happening at any point, quite honestly, no matter who's in charge out there.
Now, Aikman said he spoke to John Elway and John Lynch about making the transition to general manager. He clearly, though, doesn't see it happening in Dallas. He's a sharp guy, knows the game inside and out. Pete Schrags, I know you have had a chance to get to know him over the years. Working with him, he would be an obvious and clear candidate for any team who was looking for a GM, given all his knowledge that he's got.
We did the NFL draft with Troy Aikman a couple of years ago, and he got down into the Baker Mayfield, Sam Darnold, all that class, and put the work in. Was at the pro days. I know he loved it. I think he loves his job at Fox. I also want to say his comment, though, wasn't that he's not interested in everything. Jerry would never have it happen. That was the comment, that Jerry just wouldn't do it. So, I don't know. He might leave the door open. Who knows?
I'm sure other teams will call him now that the conversation's been had. It's not Dallas, but the other team needing a GM. Call me.
Okay.
Sorry, Fox, you're going to have to redo that deal. Sticking with the Cowboys, they've got a big NFC matchup with huge, playoff implications on Sunday when the Rams are coming to town. Here's our very own Jane Slater with the latest from Dallas.
Thanks, Kay. Well, Dak Prescott had tape on that right index finger at practice on Wednesday. That is what he injured in the game against the Bears. He also, by the way, sprained that left hand. Now, in an interview on Monday, he said it's not uncommon for him to bang up his hands in a game, but he said he is good to go against the Rams. And that is good news when you consider just how effective this Rams defense has been. In fact, they lead the league in sacks since Week 7. It's no coincidence that's also when they picked up Jalen Ramsey. On the year, Dallas is 6-0 when they score at least 30 points and 0-7 when they score fewer than 30. Success also comes when this offense runs through Ezekiel Elliott. And this is just the third time that the league's two highest paid running backs have gone up against each other. Now, Elliott says right now this team is hyper-focused and locked in. They know how high the stakes are.
Appreciate you, Slater. The Rams are looking to get out of it in the hunt column in the middle, and the Cowboys still have the NFC East lead because of their tiebreaker with the Eagles. They need this win to make sure they stay on top. So let's get into the top matchups with Week 15. We call it big deal or no big deal.
Okay.
Break out the Microsoft Surfaces.
Okay.
Dust them off and let's go. Rams, Cowboys, Dallas losing 3 straight. Big deal or no big deal, Schrags, that in the Sean McVay era, the Rams are 5-0 against teams that are on a losing streak of 3 or more games.
I'll say big deal, Kay. I think it is a big deal. They take teams that are coming in and struggling, and they put their foot on their throat and say, let's get them out of this thing. I think the Rams are red hot. I think the Cowboys are ice cold. And last year they played in a playoff game, and everyone was talking about this great Cowboys rushing offense, and it was C.J. Anderson and Todd Gurley who ran all over the Cowboys. I think they're going to do that again. I think Gurley's feeling good, and I think it's a big deal that the Cowboys are struggling. The Rams are red hot.
It means they beat bad teams and they don't fall into trap games, which I think is good coaching. But I say no big deal. The big deal is that they beat teams that have won 5 games in a row, like the Seattle Seahawks. And I think they're getting really rich for that in the hunt column. They almost feel like they don't belong there anymore, and I think they're going to get out of it this weekend.
I'm going to say no big deal as well, just because, there's no big D. Like, this isn't the big-time Dallas team. And I want this to be disrespectful. I feel like for the first time in a long time, Dallas is starting to hear the criticism, and it's louder than all of the fanfare that they have surrounding the Cowboys. So until they get things together, instead of being Nate Burleson, a super fanboy that never played for the Dallas Cowboys, I'm going to be as disrespectful as possible. And hopefully they can play these clips around the facility.
This can motivate them.
Meetings good. And maybe they can realize that I'm not the only voice that's looking at the Dallas Cowboys saying, I can care less if you're worth $5 billion. How about you go win some games because you guys have the biggest collection of talent. There's no big D in the big Dallas.
A lot of love for the Rams, and you can't blame that because they've been playing so well lately. Let's move on to another big matchup in Sunday night. Bills-Steelers, it got flexed. Josh Allen, Duck Hodges, both trying to hang on to their wild card spots in the final 3 weeks. So, big deal or no big deal, Nate? That undrafted rookie, Duck Hodges, has a higher passer rating and completion percentage than Josh Allen.
This is a big deal, and I'm not going to be dismissive to everything that Josh Allen has accomplished and how these guys are following him. He's a true leader. He deflects praise. He has a very humble approach. But when it comes to accuracy, this is the same type of situation that we were talking about when he came into the draft. We were saying, man, he has a big arm. He's strong. He's athletic. But when it comes to him pinpointing passes, he's not as good as everybody else. And Duck, let's give him credit for what it is. If he can go out there and be more accurate, then yeah, he will be more successful.
I will have to say, Josh Allen has 17 touchdowns, 1 interception over the last 8 weeks. He's not turning the ball over. Maybe he's not making those shots into small windows. I'd have to look closely at it, but he's been pretty accurate and what he can do on the ground.
But that accuracy can kill you, Kay. You have to be a perfect passer to make it to a Super Bowl. I don't care how many times you run into the end zone.
He's been fumbling, too.
You got to throw the ball where it needs to be.
He might have to be a perfect passer to beat this defense. I'd say no big deal. I wouldn't compare Duck's numbers to Josh Allen's numbers. I think they're both having good because it's a different offense, different philosophy, and they're not really putting the onus on Duck to throw as much as they're having Josh Allen go out and do things. What I would say, though, is you're in Pittsburgh on a Sunday night, and this ain't the Cowboys on Thanksgiving against a struggling. This is the best defense right now in football, this Steelers defense that is just suffocating teams. Josh Allen, if these Bills are going to ever make a run, they need this victory because next week, they go to Foxborough. Like, this is a huge game for Josh Allen's career. No big deal about Duck's numbers, but a big deal for Josh Allen.
I've changed this thing 6 times while I'm sitting here. And I'm going to go with big deal because it's just such a big game. If Buffalo loses this game, there's a problem. There's a real problem because don't think they can just coast into the playoffs. I tend to come out statistically that Josh Allen makes up for it with all the rushing touchdowns and everything that Duck Hodges doesn't do. But, guys, this is a huge deal. Yes, it's a very big deal because Josh Allen has to have a big game, and I think that Steelers defense is going to be picking him out of his teeth. It's really good. Huge deal.
Make or break game for these Bears. It came with the Bears-Packers. I remember September 5th in Chicago watching the first time these two teams played each other. A lot has changed since then. And on Sunday, they'll meet for the second time. Mitch Trubisky's been on a bit of a hot streak over the last 2 games. So big deal or no big deal, Trubisky's thrown for 3 touchdowns in each of those wins.
Like the biggest deal of all time. Like, there's not a player in the league right now who is more of a body language guy, is more of a self-confidence guy than Mitch. Nate, your kids, your sons play football right now. They're very young.
Yeah.
I imagine when the game is about to start, you already know how they're going to play.
Yep,
you
no
know
doubt.
how it's going to go.
No doubt.
Guys, if you watch these Bears games, you know in the first 2 snaps what Mitch is going to do. And over the past month, it's been fantastic. In October, it was absolutely dismal. So the fact that he has caught fire now, I don't care who it's against, is really big. There is not a more bigger body language guy in football right now than Trubisky. It's huge.
I'll say big deal as well. More so for the dogs that were on him in the media and all the scrutiny. Like, it's kind of been taken off a little bit. Huge win against the Lions, beating David Blau on that last-second drive, and then an even bigger win last Thursday. I think Mitch got his groove back. And if I'm the Packers, I'm not coasting into this one. The Bears can beat the Packers.
Bears quarterback in Lambeau. It's as big as it gets.
It's as big as it gets.
I'll say big deal, but I'll focus more on deal because for so long we're thinking, what's the deal with this guy? I mean, is he an athlete? Is he a passer? I mean, the record is 6-1 when he throws for 3 or more TD passes. So obviously it works for the offense. And then on top of that, how about his deal? I mean, what are the Bears going to do when his contract is up? He's not just playing be the face of the franchise. He's also playing to get another big deal.
This is big for him. Is this that game, Schrags, for them to decide what they're going to do with him in the future?
I think he's got another year before we have to really make that decision. So but if you show up and beat Rodgers in Lambeau and keep this playoff thing alive,
that's the thing. This is the Ohio State beating Michigan. If you win in Lambeau, like, oh, you got something.
Or if he has a big drop-off and he collapses and the rest of the season is terrible, we're all thinking to ourselves, he's not the guy, and they'll start planning for the future.
If they miss the playoffs, he plays decent, is he the guy?
I think he is. I think at this point they don't have any other options. I think
they don't have a first-round pick. Mm-hmm. They traded a lot of assets to get Khalil Mack. Yep. I think they're in with Trubisky regardless.
I do too.
Crucial game up in Lambeau. We'll talk more about Aaron Rodgers, how he'll fare against this Bears defense, and also how his AMA went.
Yeah, he got real. He got real. It was all what you expect. Alex Trebek, mustaches, Star Wars, all that.
Questions. You have to answer every question, or you can pick and choose.
I think pick and choose.
That's not fun.
Wait. It should be like a plead the fifth situation. Andy Cohen.